Hey everybody, so today I'm here to do part 2 of my collective breast milk storage bag review. That video is like almost 2 years old. I'll have it linked down in the description if you guys want to check that one out and then watch this one. But I just have a few things to mention. I'm going to go over my review points, a few things I think you should know, talk about what brands I'm reviewing, and then jump right into the review. I'm going to get started because this is probably going to be a longer video. I am going to be putting timestamps in the Dropbox for each individual bag along with my recommendations at the very end of the video, just in case you guys are looking for one particular bag. But to get started, my review points, I have 8 of them. How many ounces or milliliters they held, if they leak, how much they cost in bulk and also per bag, what kind of area or label they have to write on, how flat they freeze when freezing 5 ounces at a time, if it has side seals and how thick the bag is, if it has a double zipper, if the measurements are accurate. And there was a couple of things I wanted to mention about each of those. When it came to freezing, I want to mention that freezing your bags flat is great for optimal storage, meaning if you freeze your bag flat, you're going to get a lot more room out of your freezer if you're making bricks and gallon bags and stuff like that, versus if you just sat the bag in there on its butt, then it just kind of gets this lumpy roundness and it's really hard to store. So try to store flat when possible. I also want to mention about the accurate measurements thing. This is something that I should have said in my original review, but I don't think I ever did. But I want to recommend to you guys, hands down, every single bottle, baby bottle, or breast milk storage bag that I've used, I've tried, reviewed, they all have different measurements. What I would recommend is to fill up whatever you plan to feed baby out of, whether it's a sippy cup or a baby bottle. Put however much you intend for them to eat out of it, and then pour that into the breast milk storage bag. So that way you know when you go to thaw that milk that it's going to be what you need in that whatever cup, bottle, you know. So for instance, when Remy was taking MAM bottles, that's what I used to measure. I would put 4 ounces in there, I would pour it into the bag, that way when I defrosted it, it was exactly what she needed. So that is one of my biggest recommendations, because that way you're able to get what you're looking for. However, I know accurate measurements on the bag are important to some people, so I still want to include it as one of my review points. Also, I'm going to be having a pros, cons, and my final verdict on each bag at the end of their review. That way, if you are looking for just one bag in particular, you know my thoughts on it, if I would spend my money or not. And then lastly, I just want to mention, if any of the bags leak, whether they're in this video or they're not, please reach out to the company that makes them. I have had bags leak before, and I know how hard you work to get that precious milk that you put in those bags, so I would definitely contact them. I've had companies in different various ways try to make it right. I know that they cannot replace that hard work. However, I've heard of many companies giving you free bags or just in some way, shape, or form trying to compensate you for what you've lost. I will say that when you are thawing, try to thaw it out in something that's also going to collect the milk if it leaks. For instance, if you're quick thawing under hot water, put your breast milk storage bag in a sandwich baggie, or if you are freezing in the fridge, put it in a Tupperware container. That way, if the milk leaks out, you're still able to use that milk. So now I'm just going to go over the brands that I have to review today, and if I pronounce these wrong, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to fire through them. Nene Supply, Ardo, Medela because they were redesigned, Kiinde because they were supposedly fixing the accuracy problem, Parents' Choice, Babies R Us because they were also redesigned, Mommy's Precious, Milkies, Love Baby, Target up&up because they were also redesigned, Tommee Tippee, Pump and Go, Dr.Dudu, Lansinoh because those were also redesigned, and Nurture Right. So I have 14 bags altogether, and I'm just going to jump right in. I have a cooler bag next to me that I will be showing you a filled up bag with my milk in it, and I will be also showing you an unused bag for each of them. So I'm just going to start off, and the first one is Nene Supply. So this is an empty bag. You guys probably aren't going to be able to see much because they are clear, but you'll see more with the ones that have my milk in them. But these bags hold 6 ounces. I have had no leaking issues. There's a 50 pack on Amazon for $14.99. I will have all the links to all the bags down below for easy access. That makes them 30 cents a bag. I really like the label on this because it does give you ample space for the stuff that's important, name, date, and volume. So I really do like that. It's also easy to write on. They do freeze pretty flat. I filled all these bags with 5 ounces, so this is what 5 ounces looks like in this bag, and obviously all the bags would be thinner if you froze less than 5 ounces. This bag does have a side seal to it. It is also very, very thick. It only has one zipper at the top, if you can see that, but that's because it has a seal on the back. Basically, you rip this off, you open up your bag, pour the milk in, close it up, and then you're going to take this off, this little peely thing right here, and you're going to fold this down. So it's going to look like this when you freeze it. Now, when I was de-thawing this, I pushed and pushed and pushed to see if this would snap, if it would give, if it would leak. I also froze some of them without doing the seal, and I've had no issues with them whatsoever. They stayed put. As for if it is accurate, they are not. They are about 1 ounce over. The pros of this, I really do like the seal on it. It's definitely unique, and like I said, I didn't always use it and I found it to be just fine. And in that case, it's a really super long bag and you can get a ton in there and it's going to be super flat. And as for the cons, if you put too much in it, like when I started going more towards 6 ounces, the bag was starting to get thicker because, again, if you use the seal, obviously it pushes the milk downwards and you're going to run into that. And as for my final verdict on this bag, I would definitely buy it. Next up is Ardo, and this is what the plain bag looks like. This bag holds 6 ounces. I had no leaking problems. There's a 20 pack for $12.23, which makes them 61 cents a bag. And I really dislike the label on this one just because I'm not sure if you're able to tell, but there's no difference in texture to the rest of the bag. So it makes it a little hard to write on these ones, and I just don't really prefer them. Also, I don't like how they expect you to put like the ounces or milliliters over here. It's just a really weird spot. I'm assuming that's where they want you to put it, and I just didn't really care for that. As for flatness, this is as flat as it basically gets. I worked with these bags a lot. They're not super thin, but not super thick. It does have a side seal all the way around. It is a kind of thick bag, not the thickest, not the thinnest. It only has one zipper at the top right here, as you can see. And as for measurements, it was almost half an ounce off, so it is not accurate. And as for the pros of these bags, you actually can pump straight into these. They give you reusable zip ties when you get the package. And if you could tell up here, it has 2 little perforated circles. Basically, you just push these little circles out and then you're able to put your zip ties in around there, and you can zip tie it to whatever connector you're using, and that way you can pump straight into them. As for the cons, I don't like the single zipper. I'm not really understanding that. They could have just thrown another one on there for extra protection, and they are super, super expensive. And as for my final verdict, I would not buy these. Next is Medela, which is our first redesign, and this is what the new bag looks like. So this is the new one, and I actually do have an old one. So this is the old one, and this is the new one. So as you can see, there is quite a difference, and I'm going to get started on this right now. It holds 6 ounces. I had no leaking issues. There's a 100 pack on Amazon for $19.99, which makes them 20 cents a bag. I love the label on this thing. They gave you ample space for the stuff that matters. So I love the fact that it's just name, date, and amount. So it's really simple, and it does have a nice texture to it, so it's easy to write on. When it comes to flatness, this is 5 ounces. Now it does still flare out at the bottom, but definitely not as bad as the older bags. It does have the side seal, and it is a thicker bag, definitely a lot thicker than the older version. It also does have a double zipper up here at the top, and when it comes to accuracy, it is accurate. As for the pros, I really like everything that they've changed. In my opinion, from the size to the quality, everything hands down is a ton better than it used to be. The cons is they did take away the directly able to be pumped into feature, and as you can see on the old bags, it has this little notch. However, it really just varies on whether or not that's important to you. Me personally, I don't utilize that feature, so it's not really a con to me. I don't really mind it missing, but I know for some people that may be important. And as for my final verdict, I love these. I would definitely spend my money on them. Next up is the Kiinde bag. Now, there's nothing really different to the actual bag itself, more so that it's just accurate now. But it holds 6 ounces. I've had no leaking issues. There's an 80 pack on Amazon for $17.99, which makes them 22 cents a bag. Now, as for the label, I find it really hard to write on. It's basically just right over here. That's awkward for me. I don't know. I've never been a huge fan of the label. I just feel like they could do better in some way, shape, or form. As for being flat, the bag itself can be pretty flat, I feel like, considering, but this little nozzle right here can get weird. Now, I have seen people be able to tuck it and fold it in a certain way that can save a little space, but then you don't get as much out of the actual bag itself, so kind of catch-22 there. It does have a side seal all around the bag. It is a very thick bag. They haven't changed that. And of course, there's no double zipper. It's just a screw top lid, but I've had no problems with those. And I've actually taken these bags and I've squeezed as hard as I could, and I've never had a problem with them leaking. This bag is accurate, which leads me to the pros, which is I love the fact that they're finally accurate. I feel like that just brings the whole system full circle. I think it's as good as it's possibly going to get. The cons is that they are a little bulky, they are a little expensive, but you also need to keep in mind that this is an entire feeding system. That's what it's geared towards. My final verdict is if you're looking into one of those feeding systems, I would definitely buy these bags. Next up is Parent's Choice, and this is what an empty bag looks like. And these bags hold 6 ounces. It's about 50-50 on whether or not these leak, honestly. There's a 50 pack at Walmart for $6.84, which makes them 14 cents a bag. I like the label on this one. It doesn't have a ton of space, but it's all right, and it has the important things. These bags can get pretty flat. I've even gotten ones flatter than this one. It does not have any kind of side seal, as you can see. The bag itself is pretty thick though, and it does have a double zipper up at the top. And these bags are accurate. Now, the pros about this bag is that they are super cheap. However, the con side is I just feel like they don't offer enough protection. I feel like they could add a side seal and it'd be 1,000 times better. So for my final verdict, I do buy these from time to time when I'm in a pinch. I need bags like right this second, and I live in kind of no man's land, so Walmart is the closest thing to me, and I do buy them from time to time. However, I would not recommend them for long-term use or your own personal stash. Next up is Babies R Us, which was another redesign. So this is what the new bag looks like, and I also have an old bag. So this is the old bag. As you can see, it is very different as well. So new design, old design. These bags hold 7 ounces. I've had no leaking issues. There's a 120 pack for $19.99, which makes them 17 cents per bag. And for the label of this new one, not a fan. As you can see, it's part of the bag again. It's really hard to distinguish. Like, I can barely see it coming up on camera, and it's like the tiniest lines ever. It's just really difficult to write on these bags. When it comes to flatness, I cannot get these bags super flat for the life of me. Maybe under 3 ounces you could get them flat, but me, I could not get them. Anything over 4 ounces was really just kind of wonky. It does have a side seal on it. The bags themselves are super thick. It does have a double seal up here at the top, or double zipper, I'm sorry, and these bags are accurate. Now, as for the pros, I feel like these are a decent option if you're in need of bags and you can't spend a lot of money. Also, Babies R Us is notorious for running sales, which is like buy one, get one 40% off, so you could get these bags for even cheaper. Now, for the cons, I just feel like I don't like this redesign whatsoever. I feel like they could have just thrown a side seal on their old design and it would have been perfect. So I'm not really loving these bags, which brings me to my verdict of I wouldn't buy them. Mommy's Precious is up next. So this is an empty bag of theirs, and these bags hold 8 ounces. I've had no leaking issues. There is a 110 pack for $19.95 on Amazon, which makes them 18 cents a bag. I feel like the label on it does have spots for everything, but it doesn't have the most writing room, so it's so-so. And as for the flatness of this bag, these are super flat. As you can see, this is like almost razor thin because the bag is so tall. Now, it does have the side seal. The bag itself is pretty thick. It does have a double zipper up at the top. And as for accuracy, these are not accurate. They're just a tad under what they should be. Now, as for pros, I really do like how tall these bags are for people who are having freezer stashes or need to make the most out of their freezer, making bricks, whatever it might be. These are really awesome because they are so tall, they can get so thin. Cons, I didn't have anything that really stood out in my opinion, and my final verdict is I would buy these. Next up is Milkies. So this is the front of the bag, back of the bag, and these bags hold 7 ounces. I've had no leaking issues. There's a 50 pack for $11.95 on Amazon, which makes them 24 cents a bag. I like the label. It does have room for everything that's important yet again. Now this one is the only one that I have to show you what 6 ounces looks like. I accidentally defrosted my 5-ounce bag instead of the 6-ounce bag, but this is what it looks like. So as you can see, it could get really flat if you had 5 ounces in there. It does have the side seal, and the bag itself is really thick. It does have a double zipper up here at the top. And as for accuracy, these are not accurate. They're about a 1/2 ounce off. As for the pros about the bag, I love that the storage guidelines are right on the bag. I mean, it makes it super simple. And for the cons, I just feel like they're a little expensive, and I would love to see them get in bulk because currently they are only offered in that 50 pack. So I would like to see them get higher counts and maybe come down in price. But my final verdict is they are actually one of my favorite bags, and I've bought those. I will continue to buy them, and I really like them. Next up is Love Baby. This is the front of the bag. This is the back of the bag. It's a little foggy because it was touching my frozen one, but it holds 6 ounces. These bags leak like crazy. There's a 50 pack on Amazon for $8.99, which makes them 18 cents a bag. The label on it is pretty good. It has a spot for everything, not the most room, but so-so. And as for flatness, these bags can get pretty flat, as you can see, really nice and flat. It has no side seal. It is a kind of thick bag. I'm trying to think of like the word I want to use. They're definitely not thick, but they're not super thin or anything. It does have a double zipper up here at the top. And as for accuracy, they are not accurate. They're just a tad off. As for the pros and cons, the pros is that you can pump straight into these bags using Medela or Amida adapters. As you can see, the little holes right here. So that is something that's pretty cool about the bag. But as for the cons, I just don't think there's enough protection. Like I said, these leak like crazy for me. So I just feel like they need to put a thicker side seal, a little thicker of the actual material the bag's made of, and they'd be golden in my opinion. Next is Target Up and Up, and this is another redesign. So this is the new bag and this is the old bag. As you can see, it doesn't look like to the eye, it's a terrible difference, but there is differences that were made with this bag. They hold 6 ounces and they leak terribly. I've had ones that haven't even made it to the freezer. I do believe like the 3rd bag I ever used, it was just leaking as I was pouring milk into it, which I don't even understand. However, there is a 100 pack for $9.17 on Target, which makes them 9 cents per bag. The label on them is okay, it's fine, but again, not a ton of space. It has the important stuff, so whatever. But as for the flatness, these do get pretty flat, as you can see, and it does have a side seal on it now, and it is a thick bag but very borderline. It does have the double zipper up here at the top. And as for accuracy, these are not accurate. They're almost a 1/2 ounce off. Now, the pros about this bag is they are the cheapest bag that I've came across out of this whole lot, at least. However, the cons is that it comes at a price. I have not heard good things about these, but I still wanted to test them out regardless, obviously, for you guys, and I stand beside pretty much what everybody else is saying, that they are completely flawed now. I don't think that they had that big of an issue with these. They weren't my favorite bag, but they were something that I used to recommend. I think all they had to do to this bag was add a side seal to it. How hard? They would have been golden. However, they messed with something that wasn't entirely broken, and now they're kind of crappy, which brings me to my verdict of no, I would not buy these. Next up is the Tommee Tippee Pump and Go. So this is the front of the bag, and this is the back of the bag that has the label. Now these bags hold 6 ounces. I have had leaking issues with these. Not so much under regular use, but when I was really trying to test them to see how well they do, they did not hold up. Now, I doubt that you'd ever be going at your bags as hard as I was, but I found just even in times that I wasn't squeezing that hard, that milk was squeezing out of the little seals up here by the rim. So I did find that to be an issue. There's a 70 pack on Amazon for $33.40 no, I'm sorry, $33.99, which makes them 49 cents a bag. The label on it, I do like. There's a ton of space. Like, I've never seen anybody do this, but I really like it because there's a ton of space, especially for someone like me who writes really big. As for flatness, as you can imagine, it's a spout one. So again, you can only get them so flat. This is what 5 ounces looks like in there. Now, these do have a side seal. The bag is on the thinner side and it doesn't have the double zipper because, again, it's a spout. Now, as for the pros about this bag, again, it's one of those pump and feed kind of systems, so it has that going for it. The cons, however, I don't think that it's worth it. These are the most expensive bags I think I've ever came across, and I just really don't care for them. The fact that they leak sometimes, the fact that they're so expensive, I just don't think that they're a good option, which brings me to my verdict of no, I would not buy these. Next up is Dr.Dudu, which was very highly requested by you guys. And as you can see, it also had the label on the back there. But these bags hold 6.8 ounces, primarily because this is more catered towards the metric system. There is no leaking issues that I've ever came across. There's a 120 pack on Amazon for $11.99, which makes them 10 cents a bag. The label I really like because it is on the back. It has a ton of space. I wish they had how much, like the amount line, because that's more important than I feel like name, but that's just me. As for flatness, these can get pretty flat. They do have a flare out down here at the bottom, but it does have a side seal all the way around. It might be hard for you guys to see since these are colored bags, but it is a thick bag. It also does have a double seal up here at the top. Again, might be hard to see because of the blue. And as for the measurements, these were about a ½ ounce off, so they are not accurate. So as for the pros about this bag, they are pretty cheap, really reasonably priced, I feel like. And as for the cons, nothing really stands out, which brings me to my verdict. All in all, I think this is a pretty sound bag. Like I said, it's catered more towards the metric system, so if you're pouring straight into these and relying on them being accurate, it's a little difficult because you might be able to see, you know, the ounces are off because, like I said, they're catering to the metric system. So that's a little weird, but that's a USA problem. But all around, I do like these bags. I would definitely spend my money on them. Next up is Lansinoh, and this is what the new bag looks like. This is the old design, so as you can see, not a ton of differences, but there are some there. They hold 6 ounces. I've had no leaking with these new bags whatsoever. There is a 100 pack for $10.79 on Amazon, which makes them 11 cents a bag. As for the label, it's okay. Again, doesn't have a ton of space, but it does have the important stuff up there. And oh, I didn't even grab the bag out yet. Sorry guys. We are getting down to the wire though. This is the next to last one. This is how flat they are. So as you can see, they can get pretty flat. There is a side seal that is now on it. It is a pretty thick bag. I was trying to feel between the two if it's thicker than the other version, and I feel like it's a tiny bit thicker, although it's not like a huge notable difference. It also does have the double zipper up here at the top as usual, and as for accuracy, no, these are still a tad off. Now the pros about these bags is that you can actually pump straight into these bags now, as long as you make sure that they have the white flowers right here, the white line up top, you can pump into them. When you have the Lansinoh pump, you don't have to buy anything extra. You can put this straight onto your connector. There's actually a little pamphlet that now comes with the bags that will show you how to do all this. If you have a more narrow neck pump, there's an adapter that you can buy. So that is a new and cool feature. Other pros, I just feel like they've upped their game a little bit. They've obviously changed things. I feel like they've done a good job at that. Now the cons, I feel like it's still not as thick as I would like. They could make the material a little bit thicker, and I feel like they'd be golden. And as for my verdict, if any of you remember my first review, Lansinoh was the one I had the bone to pick with the most because I found so many of them leaked. However, I went into this very skeptical if they had actually gotten better, and in my opinion they have. I haven't had any leaking issues, which was absolutely insane to me compared to what I had experienced the first time around. I do spend my money on these currently, and I will specify why at the end of the video. And this leads me to my last and final bag, which is Nurture Right. So this is what the empty bag looks like. These bags hold 6 ounces. There is no leaking that I've ever experienced. There's a 100 pack for $21.97, which makes them 22 cents a bag. There is a good amount of space, but again, it's not a different texture, so it is a little hard to write on. Now, as for flatness, these things get super, super thin. I've even gotten ones thinner than this. You can see there's like a little flare out down here at the bottom, but it does have the side seal all the way around. The bag itself is really thick. It has a double zipper up here at the top. And as for accuracy, they are not accurate. They're almost an ounce off. Now, the pros about this bag is these are the tallest ones that I have found, and they freeze so amazingly. Just the fact you can get them so razor thin, there's 5 ounces in there, is just amazing to me. Now, as for the cons, I don't find anything that stands out about them, and my final verdict is I would spend my money on them. So we are finally done with all of those reviews. We are down to my recommendations. My final recommendations is that for the cheap bulk kind of option where you're looking to get the most bags for the least amount of money because you are having to go through that many bags, which I've been there, would be Lansinoh. That's the reason why I said I buy those bags. As you might know, I'm an oversupplier. I donate. I buy those bags to put my donated milk in because I go through so many. It's just what works the best for me. They're also on Amazon Prime, which makes it super simple. I will say that the best price is on Amazon. However, you can get other places to price match that. Now, when it comes to pumping directly into your bags or needing one of those feeding systems, I recommend the Kiinde system. Even if you're just looking to pump directly in, I would still recommend those over different ones because I feel like they're, one, really secure. They'll come with adapters to screw that into. You can't get much more secure than screwing something on. And number 2, they're just way thicker, way more reliable in my opinion, and a ton more affordable than the Tommee Tippee option. So that is my recommendation on that. And for someone who's looking to get optimal storage, I would definitely recommend the Nurture Right. Like I said, you can get those things razor thin, and they're tall, but not too tall to fit in a gallon bag. You could make beautiful bricks out of those. If you're not an exclusive pumper, that might sound a little weird, but I find that those are a really good option. I feel like they're also affordable, not too expensive. And when it comes down to my favorite bag out of all of these, it would be the Medela bag. They made so many good adjustments to that bag. I just feel like they did an exceptional job with the changes that they've made, and I love them to death now. So that is everything for the part 2 of my collective breast milk storage bag review. Like I said, I will have all kinds of links and good information in the drop box below, so make sure to check that out. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks for watching.